Hey guys, my name is Bando. This is Breakfast Bando. I got dragged out to a work event. I don't drink anymore, so I am several pints deep, and you're gonna hear all about my opinions on Adepticon. And yeah, it's probably gonna get loud. I apologise. So, Adepticon's reveals were last night at about 2 o'clock. I'm sure you've seen everything. We got our first view at the Space Wolves, a new Crusade book, Chaos Space Marines, a new chapter approved mission deck, a new Spearhead season for Age of Sigmar, the Kill Team, a new faction for the Old World, some returning factions for the Old World, and that's about it. So, let's have a look at what we've got. Pardon me. Right, Space Wolves. So, those of you in the know will know that I have a Space Wolves army in Warhammer 30,000, and that I'm rather fond of my silly little space pups now. And they have finally got the Primaris treatment. Now, does that mean I instantly like these Primaris Space Wolves? No, it does not. So we have to start with an army box. Now let's drag this across so you guys can see it a bit better. Let's try and pretend to be professional on this channel. So it appears to have a unit of Grey Hunters, a unit of Grey Slayers, two new characters, and the required 3-man bodyguard unit. Yeah, I'm not fussed. I'm really not fussed about this. An army box, I feel, should have a balance between units. Just going heavy on infantry or vehicles, generally, in my opinion, is not a good look for an army box. Now, this is one of those army boxes that comes out with the Codex prior to the main release of the faction. And if you are looking at starting Space Wolves, I'm sure this is going to be a fantastic box for you. Let's actually have a look at them. So, first up we have the Grey Hunters. Now, the Grey Hunters are basically the tactical Marines. The Grey Hunters and Grey Slayers, they split their tactical Marines in half, or they used to. Now they're basically your intercessors and assault intercessors. They have increased the mobility of the models, or the sort of the I can't think of the word. They made them more dynamic. That's the word I'm looking for. The dynamism, that was the word, of these models. And okay, they just look a bit off. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe they just don't look weighted enough. There's just something about them doesn't look right. First of all, also, cross-draw holsters is a no-go. Like, no one draws their holster across their body like that. You have your pistol on the same side, so you can draw it straight up and out. Stop putting holsters on the wrong side. It's stupid. So, we have the WWE belt from Fenris's wonderful wrestling federation returning. This is a staple of the existing Space Wolf kits, the diamond replacing the skull of the Imperialis, and lots of little fetishes and doodads. That's pretty cool, and a load of new bare and hairy heads. Looks like they've improved their sculpting of fur, which is much better. We no longer have the banana fur. It looks like pistols, close combat weapons for these guys. They have started to make Primaris Mark 10 armor look slightly better. They are definitely listening to the community. They're bringing in subtle differences, like they've removed the knee guard because they realised people generally didn't vibe with the extra piece of armor here for some reason. They've got like Mark 6 single piece leg guards here. Looks like they got some really cool decals in the set as well. We have the Mark 6 head in the box, and a load of things like knives, which is pretty cool, and a load of really good bare heads. And here comes the first complaint that I'm seeing from a lot of people. Why is like half of the bare heads of this unit painted in like dark skin tones? I'm not against, non-white people being the Space Marines. I'm not against them being in the hobby at all. It just seems really strange that they are so heavily represented in this one faction. The Ultramarines generally don't see this many. The Blood Angels definitely didn't see this many. The Raven Guard don't see this many. Why is it that they're suddenly in the Space Wolves? It seems just very weird to me. And these aren't just, by the look of it, painted that way. These look like sculpts that are specifically designed for that. Again, it just seems weird, and people are talking about it, and they generally don't seem to like it. I get it. I understand. Space Wolves are supposed to be space Vikings, and I'm absolutely fine with them being space Vikings. If you want this sort of representation, give us, like, the Celestial Lions. I'd have no problem with 99% of the chapter looking like that. My first Primaris army was a Celestial Lions army. I haven't got a problem with it. I just think that changing things for the sake of changing them just doesn't sit well, and generally makes the fans... It just makes people angry, and these people who are in charge of these decisions know it makes people angry, and I think that's why they're doing it. I like the hands with the knives. I like these Mark 6 style greaves. I wish they didn't curve over the knee so much. Like they look a bit weird with a slightly too curved, like not this way, but sort of up and over. Yeah, I mean, they're not too bad, and all the bear heads are great. Like, I like all these bear heads. I'd use these. I'd love to use these in like my Imperial Fists in the Heresy. I'd love to use some of these heads like there. My Salamanders, my what are they called? Like my Night Lords, that sort of thing would be like really cool for some of these heads. Yeah. Grey Hunters, those are the shooting side of things. So we have Mark 7 helmets. Okay, it's got the annoying Mark 10 kind of ear curve like thing that I'm not a big fan of. And not everyone's got rid of the Mark 10 knee pads. They've gone back to smaller bolters. So everyone who's pointed this out has very quickly been corrected, going, actually they're bolt carbines. They're smaller bolters. They're bolters. It doesn't matter what they're called. They've gone back to the style of classic bolters. Again, because the community didn't particularly like the oversized and overly complicated bolt rifles. We have a fantastic White Scars head here. Lots more bits, cool little wolf fetishes and like wolf tails and bits. These are all really cool. I really like it. I still don't like the baby blue of the 40k Space Wolves, but that pose is great. I really like that. His legs look a bit weird. Like, they look a bit kind of chubby and soft. He dummy thick. It's like, this should come up and up here a bit more, I think. Yeah, the armour, I don't know, the armour looks a bit weird. It looks a bit softer and wider. But again, some fantastic bear heads, some good poses. Whether or not these are like easy to build or slightly limited poses compared to an eventual full release, I don't know. But again, I will probably get my hands on a lot of these heads at least. Maybe some of these bolters with the straps. That's a pretty cool head. I like that. Yeah. I mean, I prefer these over the other ones. That's cool. I really like that pose. That kind of Rick Grimes aiming down the bolter. That's kind of cool. I like that. So the Wolfguard Head Takers got to have a new name for the Sword Brethren, and it's Sword Brethren with axes, shields, and wolves, and it's more of the same. I don't know why there is this obsession with 3-man bodyguard units now. I also think the wolves look worse. I think the wolves just look... I know there's this whole thing about there are no wolves on Fenris because they're actually like aspirants who didn't make it, which I think is one of the dumbest retcons you have ever seen. Like, giant wolves is fine. Make them giant wolves. They're not actually wolves. They are some random species that kind of looks like a wolf and lives on Fenris. Just like the lion on Caliban wasn't a lion, we can fill in the blanks. The The fur over the shoulder pads isn't great. It's kind of banana-y. The axes, I like the style of the axes. I might steal those. I kind of like this head as well. I'm not a big fan of the shields, to be honest. And I think the wolves' faces are a bit off. I actually really like the old Fenrisian wolves. I think they're really, really good. That's a great head as well. And I really like this kind of Norman-esque with the nose guard helmet. Like, I'm not a big fan of Mark 10 helmets, but this helmet with the nose plate I think looks fantastic. And yeah, give me that without the wolfy bits and without the runes for like Black Templars, please. Would be really, really cool. Next up, we have a Wolf Guard Battle Leader. Again, he's more of the same. He's very much the same model as the others. It's good to see that he's kind of multi-part. He's got extra bits, and he's got lots of wolfy bits, but still is, you know, is a Space Viking. And I've always preferred the Space Viking aesthetic over the overly wolfy stuff that we had in some other editions. I'm glad to see things like the diamond motif coming back. So that's great. The Wolf Priest. This is actually the first plastic Wolf Priest model that's not a character, which is quite surprising, to be honest. I honestly thought that the Wolf Priest would have had a model before now, but it doesn't, apart from a Games Day model. And he has a fantastic head. This bear head here is phenomenal. I really like that. That alone is almost worth the price of purchase from the recasters when this eventually comes out. One thing I really cannot stand about Primaris Marines is this move to smaller Crozius Arcanums. Give us the great big winged Crozius. It looks like a maul. It's big. It's imposing. It looks like it does damage. I don't need just a stick. Other than that, I'm not a fan of this head with the hood, the Little Red Riding Hood head. I don't like, and this awful looking dagger. I really can't stand that. I don't know what CAD crap that was, but that looks awful. That's like something out of the Death Guard kits, and I mean, it even looks like there's a great big mold line running down the front of it. Yeah, I hate that. I think that looks absolutely awful. The heavy bolt pistol looks much better. Again, I'm just not a fan of Space Marines in in coats. I prefer them in their armour. And yeah, big coat, I just think it looks dumb. Again, they've got a different style of doing the fur. If you look through these models, none of these models seem to have the same style of fur. Which is really weird because it should just be a brush. Like the way you'd work in the programs they use, like ZBrush, you would have a textured brush and you would define a shape and then you'd paint over it and it would put in this texture. And it should then remain in scale and in the same style for every model. And it just looks like they've had different artists do this in different style for each model. I just want some consistency, please. An okay cover for the Codex. It's not great. It's not awful. Again, they've gone for a nicer, darker, more subdued grey that I prefer here. And we get kind of a sneak peek at possibly what the Wolfguard Terminators will look like. So, let's go on to the next topic. Here we also see what else we've got coming up for 40k. Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights, Black Templars, Grey Knights, on to then the Salamanders, and then the Leagues of Votan and the Imperial Fists. And then there is another piece of artwork out there about what's coming after that, and it's Raven Guard. Then we go on to the Old World. So we have the brand new faction of Cathay. And while I can appreciate a new faction being added, and it is a new faction of an entirely plastic release, which is kind of cool. I kind of get behind that. I just feel like it's not needed. I mean, if you look at these units, you have knights, artillery, swordsmen, halberdiers. It's literally just green-coloured empire. and I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan of just the idea of it. I like the setting. I don't mind the models. I just think that the other factions are more important and should have got some more love. I can appreciate the quality of the sculpts. I can appreciate the paintwork, and sticking true to the lore about having close relationships with the ogres, and the cool ideas of things like the cannons and the rockets. Like I like it. Like this guy down here, this guy with the rocket and the little lighter in his mouth. He looks great. I really like that. And I like the color sky, like the color scheme here with the red and the blue. But I mean, you'll see later with the wood elves, like how badly they've been treated. I just think that maybe they could have had a bit more focus than someone else. Like if this had been dropped week 3, like we'd had Tomb Kings, Bretonians, and then boom, these guys, I think it would have been better. But at this point, it just feels a bit weird. I'm also not a huge fan of this. I've never been a really big fan of like Chinese armor designs. The kite, the sky lantern, it's great. It's great as a model. It looks fantastic. I'm sure it is going to be an absolute joy to paint. I'm really tempted to get one as a centerpiece model. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I like it. I can appreciate the appeal. I really can. I just think there are better things to be released, and I just think there are better things for this game. But I'm probably wrong. I'm sure they've got many bean counters out there telling them how great this is and how well it's going to sell, and that's fine. The Cathay Sentinel I quite like. I like me a big centerpiece model. I like painting big models, and this looks like it's going to have lots of fun for lots of weathering and that sort of thing. I hope the model is slightly posable. I hope it isn't just as immovable, pun intended, as it looks. But I think this model is probably the best. I love dragons. Dragons are cool. This dragon looks fantastic. I like the long hair. Some people don't like it because of the hair. They don't like the moustache. I kind of want this, and I want to put wings on it, and I want to turn it into a black dragon for my dark elves, and I want to put a sorceress on it, so it almost looks like a connection between the sorceress with her long waving hair and the dragon she's going to be straddling. The model that comes with it, her human form, is kind of cool as well, but the cloak flying up behind her looks kind of dumb. So this is cool. I can appreciate all of this. I'm sure it's going to sell well. I'm just not enamored. I'm not blown away. I'm not super hyped on it. Things like this are cool. I just hope they're not, £100. Okay, so Crusade Armageddon. So I have 2 issues here. One, Armageddon. We keep going back to it. I don't mind us keep going back to Armageddon, particularly. I wish we'd go to other places. I wish we'd have new books. I wish we'd have a campaign book in like the Sabbat World Crusade, or the Damocles Crusade, or something like that. Something that's a bit different. Secondly, I'm kind of done with demons at Armageddon. I liked Armageddon being the orcs. I liked it being the orcs versus Yarrick. I liked it being the Black Templars and the orcs. I liked that style of things, that conflict. I don't need everything to involve chaos. And I think a Crusade book that is really just orcs and chaos. Oh, sorry, orcs in the Imperium. Orcs in the Imperium. Eldar Raiders, maybe. Tau Raiders at this point. That's fine. But I don't need another chaos-centric anything. I'm happy to see Grey Knights getting some love, but I'm really not big on this. Secondly, where are the Armageddon Steel Legion? The Armageddon Steel Legion are the largest, Imperial Guard force stationed in this area. They should be here. But they are not. And that really kind of annoys me. I'm glad to see we've got Helbracht and everything, but yeah. So, the Grey Knights are getting a Grandmaster in Baby Carrier, and I couldn't care less. You know, he gets a couple of extra weapon options, and that's it. It's still a bad model. It's still a dumb design. You know, why would you wear this giant thing to fight a demon and then not put your helmet on? Why would you not armor up the entire cockpit as much as possible? Why would this thing not be covered in purity seals? It's just so much why. Like, if this was a giant dreadnought, I'd get behind it 100%. Giant psychic dreadnought with a giant flail and a quad-barreled multi-melter? Yeah, I get behind that. Oh yeah, this guy's so powerful and pure of heart, and he's such a strong psyker that we cannot let him die, and we're going to entomb him in a giant, super advanced Dark Age of Technology dreadnought, where he can continue to use his psychic might and his ass kick ability to just slap Angron around. You know, Angron's like, oh, I killed you last time, and he's just like, did he? Did you? I got better. And then, you know, maybe he dies, and they have to expend thousands of men to recover this piece of arcane technology each time. That's so much better, but no, it's a baby carrier. He slots in the front, and he gets to run around like baby Grogu. IG-88. Yeah, don't care. Complete miss. Grey Knights need their entire range refreshing, and it's not happening till 11th edition. Give us new Terminators, give us new power army units, give us Grey Knight jet bikes, give us a Grey Knight Contemptor Dreadnought. Give us something that makes the faction truly unique and really interesting. Right, Chaos. So Khorne gets an 8-bound character, or HQ choice. The 8-bound champion. The Slaughterbound. This guy should have been out with the release of the Codex when the 8-bound came out. End of story. They needed a power-armoured Chaos Lord. They needed a Terminator-armoured Chaos Lord. They needed bikes. You know? They need jetpack troops. They do not need another demon weirdo character that no one asked for. This is awful. This is terrible. Boo hiss. You're bad. You should feel bad. Bikes, Power Armor HQ, Terminator HQ, Terminators in general. There's so much better you could do. If World Eaters had got themselves a release like the Death Guard did at the beginning of 8th edition, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Speaking of Death Guard, so the Death Guard get a new Codex. Also, the cover of the Codex isn't too bad. Death Guard, new Codex, okay cover. Why does it look like he's sort of top of the Emperor's Children? So get the already shown off Lord of Poxes. That guy who did the digital kit bash to actually put this model together got that so incredibly close. I don't mind this model. I like that they have kind of toned down the mutation side of things, and they've gone back more to the industrial kind of rot and decay. I like that. I'm not a big fan of this thing on the side of his mouth. Okay. It's not something I'm in any interest in buying. I won't be in a rush to get this, but I'm glad that Death Guard are getting at least something. The only thing I can think Death Guard really needs is maybe a rebox of the Plague Marines, where they get an extra 3 guys in there. Other than that, bikes, bikes, jump troops, that sort of thing. Yeah. Then we get the Thousand Suns. The Sekitar robots. And I like Thousand Suns. I quite like 40k Thousand Suns. And I honestly think this is an absolute miss. This is so... Like, someone got told that they need this unit, and they had no idea. They were creatively bankrupt that day. and they just kind of phoned it in. I'll start with the most dumb thing. The beaks on these cannon barrels block almost a third of the cannon barrel. You're blowing the tips off your beaks every time you shoot your gun. 2, the posing is awful. You can make a Wraith Lord better pose than this, and he's got no articulation in his legs whatsoever. 3, who thought it was a good idea to have chipped white paint on the blue and gold Thousand Suns? The blue and gold Thousand Suns, whose whole design is about change and weird and wonderful liquid metal, constant state of flux, everything. You've gone for the decayed and chipped paint look. Second of all, or next thing, why does this all look like a bad transformer at the back? Plain black clunky bits on here. Where is the baroque metal, the twisted and forged in the fires of madness, the created by a mind that hasn't been sane for a millennia, but everything aligned, and he created some perfect, horrible abomination to bind a mad demon inside of it. Oh, look, they got little Votan robot heads. Isn't that cute? Dumb. Dumb, dumb, dumb. Dumb, dumb. The thickest cable you've ever seen. Oh, look, they've got Thousand Suns style missile launchers. Absolute, total and utter garbage. Okay, how would I have done these? Well, I would have made them look more like their 30k counterpart. They wouldn't have been tall, they would have been wider and squatter and more like Imperial robots. You know, those things that the Dark Mechanicum would have been known for making. Yeah, sure, make them a bit taller and a bit thinner, that's fine. Reverse joint the legs, digitigrade legs, give them both these arms, put the weapons on top like a Castellax, and then stylize them all on the Sons of Horus. No, not the 30k Legion, but the Canoptic Jars of the ancient Egyptians. So you'd have a Hawk, you'd have Anubis, you'd have, you know, a crocodile or whatever. You know, those different styles. So you have different styles of heads for them. This is just awful. Make everything out of brass. It's supposed to be, you know, a weird machine that drives you insane to look at. This is just bad. It's like the person who designed this had the most mid-level understanding of what they were supposed to be designing it, and the people that painted it might as well have got it done on Fiverr. The Codex cover isn't too bad. Oh look, here's the expensive special edition stuff that, yeah, I'm not buying that because scalpers will just scalp it. Next up we have the Old World again, and we have the return of the Wood Elves, and we have the return of the Beastmen. Okay, so Beastmen were Age of Sigmar. They didn't sell at all. No one liked Beastmen. Let's put them back in the Old World because hopefully nostalgia will sell them. It probably won't. The Bray Herds are cool. They're more of an environmental threat than anything. People either love them or they hate them. They're one of those armies that needs extra. It needs something to really drag people in for that rule of cool. Because most people, they just don't get on with that kind of man-goat thing. We have an Age of Sigmar model finally get a square base, and we get some returning plastics. Now, again, these guys have the same problem that the majority of these sets are going to have. These are really old models, and they were never really that great to begin with. Some returning resin models. Now, a couple of these are pretty good. But, again, not enough to sell the entire faction. Some returning metal models. But again, not many of them. Now, that being said, some of these are the better ones in the faction. But, like, look at this. Look at this. This is not the sort of model that someone nowadays is going to get wet in the panties for. Now, if this was on a 5 times larger base and was a giant plastic snorting monstrous creature, people might be more interested. Same with the chariot. new chariot. Like, Beastmen was one of those armies that if you put some time and effort into, I'm sure it would be a lot more popular. Wood Elves, again, 90% of this stuff is a return to just plastic models that have been unavailable for years, and yeah, they didn't sell particularly well last time. Oh look, Orion's back, fantastic. I like Orion. Again, this should have been a hulking centerpiece plastic model. This was perfect. It is the perfect model to have as a giant centerpiece model. Okay, yeah, we get, returning characters and HQs, but where are the plastic HQs? Returning metals, okay. Oh look, a tree man, yay. Do they even have the great big plastic tree man in this thing? Doesn't look like it. Yeah, just no new models at all. Absolute relegation. Just an afterthought of a release. They should have had great big plastic Orion or resin. I wouldn't have minded if he had been a giant resin release. A new Lord on plastic and possibly a new, just something in plastic. A new tree man. Another thing, in this image at the top, we see the classic dragon. That's not mentioned anywhere else. That's another one. Where is the giant plastic dragon? Give us a new plastic green dragon. Or the green dragon with... there was a dragon with two, like the twins on it. I can't remember the name of it. That's another one that should be released at this point. Don't hold things back. Just release them all at once. Let people buy everything they want. Right, last up we have Kill Team. And Kill Team's not that bad. Okay, so we get some very weirdly coloured Tyranids with some really weird options. They kind of remind me of like the weird creatures from the first Spy Kids movie for some reason. But new Ravagers, and that's kind of cool. I don't mind them. I'm not hugely sold on them. I don't know if it says what hive they're from, what you call it, Hive Fleet. But it doesn't matter. And then we have some more Adeptus Mechanicus. So we have Return of the Techno-Archaeologist, who's a good model. He's been around and available in several boxed games. He's not a bad kit. He's just a little bit difficult to get your hands on from time to time. I've got him somewhere. I have the Warhammer Crusade or whatever it's called. The Lair of the Amble. Not the Lair of Amble. Whatever the spin-off game with the Amble in was, I have that when he comes in that. The Servitor Underseer is probably the best miniature in this entire release. Bar maybe the Cathay Dragon, which is more a personal choice. This is great. I like this. This is really cool. It's very Mechanicum. It's nice to see 40k Mechanicum getting something good. That being said, also getting Sentinels. Sentinel Servitors. Servitors are cool. We have never had a decent set of Servitors for all the different people who can use them. And a multi-part Servitor kit is great. I will be getting some of these so I can use them in my 3rd edition. I'm making a 3rd edition army and they'll be used in that. And then we have some terrain, which, yes, as we said, that was going to be in the terrain. This is great. The last time we had anything like this, it all came from Forge World and cost an absolute fortune. So, great. Really glad to see that. Yeah, I might get a load of this at some point. And then tokens. That is Adepticon. I don't know if anything more is going to be shown off. I hope so. I doubt it, though. If you have made it all the way to the end of this nearly 35-minute long video, you're a trooper. If you say the word trooper, I will enter you into the giveaway that we're doing at 2,500 people. You will have to be subscribed to the channel and a member of the Discord. I'm not sending out any more invites to the Discord for the moment. But if you put trooper in the comments, I'll add you to the list. I don't get it. I really don't. This was a huge release, and I just don't know how Games Workshop consistently seems to make stuff that the entire community, and by community I generally mean the more active members of the hobby. There will be the consumers who will accept anything, but the actual guys I see out there every day who are working on their hobby and building things, they all seem to say the same things. None of them universally enjoy anything they've seen, and they all seem to think that it's all been a bit mid. If you've got a differing opinion, I'd love to hear it. Please post it in the comments. Let's have a conversation. Prove me wrong. Convince me to like everything that was released now, and I will thank you for it. But yeah, very disappointed. Very disappointed there was no sneaky heresy stuff in there. And yeah, just all in all, very, very disappointed in this Adepticon. I hope we get some better releases in the future. Alright, well, again, if you guys have made it to the end, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Properly, not Elon Musk style. Thanks, guys. Have a good evening. I'm going to go drink some water and find something to get rid of this heartburn. And I will see you tomorrow. Have a great day. It's Friday. Good luck. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.